So let's talk about how the Premier League are trying to block Newcastle United and how they're trying to block off, the commercial deals that Newcastle will have now that they've got their new owners and everything else. Now, the way I see it is that every every owner within world football will have someone connected to them that will have something dodgy going on within their background. Um, and from where I sit is, you know, the same Saudi owners are the same people who took over Man City as well. So the fact that it's coming on to Newcastle, um, because of the way that it is coming around, is the fact that it's going to be back and forth. Um, and yes, every world owner in world football, from the Kroenkes to my owner in Roman Abramovich to the Glazer to whoever else, will want that come up with one deals. But there will know people who have done some things that shouldn't be spoken of. But you've only seen the Premier League trying to block it because of what the Saudi Arabians did to someone to someone in Saudi. But for me, why should the Premier League 19 teams be jealous of Newcastle because they're coming to this new oil money, and they want to be successful, yet they're being denied the opportunity or trying to be denied the opportunity. And I've got it here, they've been blocked off for 1 month of commercial deals due to the fact that 19 clubs called an emergency meeting because they didn't want these people being involved in Newcastle, which I feel really, really bad about. But the way it is that it's going to be very interesting to see why the teams who said no to Newcastle, why they've said no. But I think mainly it was Arsenal, Spurs, the teams of the lower Premier League division as well. And because it's teams of that lower division, Chelsea, United, they didn't really say anything because they know how good because they're not interested in getting involved in the politics or staying out of that. It's because the teams who won't be able to compete with Newcastle now that they've got that oil money. But I believe that this type of thing is going to cause even more problems because say another Premier League team comes into oil money. The way that the Premier League is going, you need like a Saudi or you need someone like that to take over your club. If you look at clubs which don't have big owners, the Brightons, the Burnleys, the Norwiches, um, of course they're going to try and block it because they know that they won't be able to compete in years to come with Newcastle when they start building their super team. Um, because, it's one of those things where you've really got to learn about who your owners are and what they've done and whether they fit the FA and Premier League official guidance thing to own a club. And now that Newcastle are in it, all I've seen is problems between 90 Premier League clubs trying to block off any deal so that they can remain, so that Newcastle don't build this super team and become super rich and give pride back to their club. I know the fans will not really give two monkeys about it because Newcastle fans will just be laughing at people who are jealous of their success now that they're going to have in years to come, as well. Let's also talk about this is just a little bit of deviation, but last night Gary Neville on Monday Night Football talked about Man United and Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. Now he said he's not going to back down on Ole because he's a friend of his. Now the way I see it is the media or sports media are full of ex-players like Jamie Carragher, Gary Neville, and people like that, Robbie Savage is to a point as well. And they're always going to protect their friend, their mate, because they know that they're going to keep getting their paycheck at the end of the day. And it's going to be one of those things where when Ollie does get sacked, they will become irrelevant in their job at Sky Sports and the BBC, because they know that they're only there to really protect their friend from doing anything to damage the reputation that they have at Man United. And I think, what you've got to do as a fan is take yourself out of that situation and really just talk about or look at the fact that, how do you distance your fan base from those who have jobs inside the clubs, i.e., your Gary Neville's, your Jamie Carragher's, because at the end of the day, they are fans of the club as well. Gary Neville is a Man United, and yes, he owns Salford, but Jamie Carragher is a Scouser through and through, so he's never going to say anything bad about Liverpool. Yes, they've won stuff, so he can't really say anything. But with Gary Neville and that, and Thierry Henry to an extent when he was on Sky Sports, Thierry was he's pushing that Daniel Egg thing with Arsenal. Now, Thierry Henry has no vivid interest in actually, well, he has a vivid interest in Arsenal, but, his main interest is not how the club is doing. It's almost like he is there to try and push for a new owner. He is there to see if he can keep his money bag sweet with Daniel Egg, because he was part of that consortium. And, this Saudi consortium, going back to Newcastle, this Saudi consortium, the Amanda lady who's taken over, she's not full owner. She's very much just on her own. Like she will get told by people around her, when to sack players, when to sack a manager, whatever. And this is the problem that fans need to distance themselves from, because I've seen a lot of people on FT saying, "Oh, why is Gary Neville saying, oh, that he won't ever say anything bad about the club?" But because he has a vivid interest in giving his money back at Sky Sports, but also because he's got a job at Man United and he's that Man United person. He's part of that PR team. You look at Ian Wright on Match of the Day, Alan Shearer on Match of the Day. Alan Shearer will have a vivid interest in Newcastle United as well, because he's a fan like that, but he's also working for Match of the Day as well. So he's not going to say anything bad about Newcastle now. Ian Wright gets wheeled out for Arsenal whenever a new player or something drops, because that's all part of their PR. You've really got to distance. Like, when I look at it, some of the nonsense that gets put around by journalists because they want to have stories out there in the media about, how can we make this club look really bad, and or how can the Premier League clubs try and stop another club from becoming successful? And this is where we need to talk, really look at the reasonings of each club and why they are against this Newcastle takeover. I know right from the beginning, since this new Newcastle takeover, that they've had massive problems with the 19 Premier League clubs. And I'm not one for saying that this takeover is bad or is good. For Newcastle fans, of course, it's going to be unbelievable for them at times, because they're going to be able to compete for trophies and for titles. But at the end of the day, when clubs look at them, and Burnley and that, they don't have the oil money, and as soon as they do come into oil money, whenever that may be in years to come, they again might turn around and say, actually, you were one of the 19 Premier League clubs at the time that tried to block any moves to allow these deals to go through, and for Newcastle to rebuild their brand as a football club. But again, tonight there's going to be more football, and I will be trying to do a watch along. I will be on here with you guys in the chat. I will be trying to do the Liverpool game. I'm going to try and figure out how to do a watch along first, because it'll be my first time doing it. But there are many reasons as to why football is changing so quickly. From 1 minute, there's the doom and gloom for fans about, oh, we haven't really got anyone. We've had days off, and I'm also just going to touch on Newcastle again, because I've seen their fans complaining that they've had 7 days off in 11 days since the takeover. They've trained twice in that time since the takeover. Now, the only reason why I can figure out as to why they've had those days off is that the new owners are either talking to Steve Bruce and his staff about what they expect from him in the next few years to come, or next few weeks to come, before they sack him. Because any new owner will sack a manager, but I'm looking at it now, and you've got games coming thick and fast, and Newcastle are the only team that seems to have more days off than they do train. Um, Now, I'm not saying that having more days off for players can be good or bad, but they're earning X millions of pounds a year, and they're getting days off when they're not even playing, and they're getting paid to have days off as well. And that can really hamper a team going into games during the weekend at weekends because your fitness levels aren't up there because you're having days off. You're not really working hard in training. You're sort of being chilled. You're being allowed days off here and every other day or whatever it is. Um, Now, I don't know what the interpretation would be, but for me, when I look at it, is if my team was having 7 to 8 days off in 8 to 10 days off after 2 days of training, I would be saying actually this is down to the manager because he's digging himself a grave because he's not wanting his team to do well because Steve Bruce will say to them, look lads, go and have a day off and that because he knows that maybe he's got problems or having talked with the uh, owners in the boardroom and whatever at Newcastle. But whatever is going to happen in these next few weeks is really crucial because some of the players at Newcastle, yes, they might not be Premier League standard players, some of them, but that doesn't excuse the fact that that they shouldn't be training almost every other day or having a rub down or whatever, or having a warm down or whatever because they've played or they've got another game in a few weeks or a few days time or whatever. When you're not playing, you should be training for the weekend or whatever, or games in the week. And tonight's going to be really really good. You've got some fantastic games in the Champions League, and it is good to see Champions League back as well. And it'll be really interesting to see who actually wins tonight, whether Liverpool or Atletico Madrid play. City should just win their game against Club Brugge. I'm sorry, that's just too easy for them. Um, you know, and then tomorrow Chelsea play Malmo. Again, I'm looking forward to that game as well because we've conceded just the one goal in our Champions League group so far. But I think we should be able to make Malmo probably a training game. Really, it's almost like a San Marino esque type game. They've got no points. They've scored none. So it's all about how Thomas Tuchel, and I will be watching the press conference, and I'll be back again later on with the press conference reaction if I can find what Thomas Tuchel has said in his press conference today about. And I know Reece James was there with him, so I'm really interested to see what Thomas Tuchel actually said. Actually, let me get it up here while I'm on stream. I will try and keep talking. See. Um, let's see if there's anything juicy here. So it says here, so okay, so so Saul now, Chelsea fans, when we bought Saul, we weren't really sure what he was coming in for at the end of the day, at the beginning, but he sat on the bench for a couple of weeks. Um, and looking at the Chelsea fit stand, and I'm just reading this off the Chelsea fit stand now, so please bear with me as well. Um, but what's really important is we look at who Chelsea actually have. So Thomas Tuchel confirms that Pulisic is the only player unavailable for tomorrow. Imagine my surprise at that. Um, so it looks like so only Pulisic. Let's have a look. Ladies from training, Pulisic. So Tony Rudiger was back. Thiago Silva but has been since involved with the main group. Hakim Ziyech missed Brentford game. Okay, so hopefully we will know. So it's just Pulisic. Everyone else seems to be fully fit and available. Fit and available for tomorrow evening's game against Malmo. And I'm hoping this is where Romelu Lukaku starts picking up his goals again, and we start being able to feed him the goals that he actually needs because every time he scored, he's actually been offside or whatever, and that's been really, really difficult for him. But you've got to give props to when he has scored, he's taken it really, really well. Um, you know, um, so in different situations, different managers will have to use their squad. And I know that Ollie's got a big game today against Atalanta, and this might be the end of the tether for Ollie if he does get sacked. If he doesn't win tonight, he may end up getting the sack because they've got to go to Liverpool, to Man City, and Spurs in the next few weeks. And then maybe by Christmas, Ollie may be sacked, and United may have Antonio Conte in charge. But this whole situation of football is so fickle because of rivalries and everything else. So I take it all. I bring it all back actually to this whole Newcastle situation as to why the Premier League have allowed 19 clubs to say that they are against Newcastle becoming rich. And I think for the Newcastle fans, they'll just be saying everyone's jealous of them that now that they're coming into 350 billion pounds. But they've got to be really, really careful because that 350 billion could be used in the championship, and then they may be needing it to fight for promotion next season if they carry on with Steve Bruce. I'm still shocked that at 2 on a Tuesday afternoon, Steve Bruce has not been sacked as Newcastle manager. I'm really, really surprised about that. But maybe the board, the owners of Newcastle said he's got till next weekend for another chance at the job, or maybe something's happening. I don't know. There's been nothing since their last game. So I'm really hoping that you know that there'll be people here for the watch along when I do it this evening. And I will be trying to keep you updated with as many videos as possible during my week. When I am free, I will be coming on stream. Um, and I will be trying to do a full Premier League roundup at the end of each game week. Liverpool started the weekend just gone with a 5-0 win against Watford. City won at Burnley. Chelsea beat Brentford. Um, West Ham lost to Everton 1-0. Arsenal drew, I think, 0-0 with Brighton, and then drew with Palace. And then, Arsenal continued their game on Friday night against Dean Smith's Villa, 15th against 16th in the league. Arsenal could be 17th by the time that happens, or Villa could be above them by the time they play on Friday. And, I think it's really good that, I've started to pick up again and, just talk about the issues that these type of things cause, with takeovers, consortiums, who the owners are in world football. World football is nothing without owners. It needs investment. It needs people passionate about the club as well. And this is just another highlighted issue of, human rights issues with the Saudi people at Newcastle. I'm sure there are other problems that, don't get unearthed when owners take over football clubs. Because I know the Premier League have a owners discipline of whether they meet the guidelines and everything else. So, it's going to be interesting to see how these next few weeks develop, and whether Newcastle actually sack their manager as well, and who actually comes in till the end of the season. Because as I said to many people before on FT, that they've got to be patient. This isn't an overnight job. This is 5-6 years to rebuild Newcastle. But if they were to sack Steve Bruce now, what type of manager would come in now and really push those players to the absolute limit and get them into safety and be given £350 million or whatever it is in the summers and go on a shopping spree to go and change the players, go and change his backroom staff, because there are not many managers left in this world who can come in and will want to take that Newcastle job or take the risk of their reputation as well. Simply because they're not able to do a job there because of the pressure that might come with new owners as well. And new owners always demand a little bit of success. I've seen the when Newcastle had their first game since their takeover, they had Anton Deck there as well. They had their owners were celebrating like the first goal after 2 minutes or whatever it was. And then they sort of willowed down after being beat 3-1 by Tottenham. And I also want to shout out man like Expressions as well, signing up for Barstool Sports. That's a really good achievement by Expressions. I know him and Truth will work together on that as well. But let me know what you guys think about this whole Newcastle fiasco and the 19 clubs blocking the 1 month for 1 month, blocking their freezing their commercial deals that they might pull in with their deals, and also whether you think that if Steve Bruce is going to get sacked and what type of players they're going to bring in, because or the type of caliber of players. It'll be interesting to see what type of people, what type of players people think that are going to be there in the next 5 to 6 years, and I'm hoping that as we learn about this, learn about who these Newcastle owners want and what type of players they're going for as well, is going to be it could be good to see as a Chelsea fan, to see what type of competition they bring to us, to Man City, to Liverpool, because it's going to be very, very interesting as well. So, it's going to be one of those things that, as a situation develops as well, you know, that their owners might fully invest. But at this moment in time, I'm not really seeing a lot from the Newcastle owners now. They've had Sunday, Monday to almost sack Steve Bruce, have a manager ready. But, they've got another day off, which is hilarious. But this is where you need a manager who isn't just going to allow days off so easily because of a takeover. So thank you guys for tuning into my video today, and I will be back hopefully later on this evening, or if anything pops up that is of interest, then I will come straight back on stream. Say any breaking news or any sackings that may occur or whatever in the next few hours. So, yeah, I'm out of here. Laters.